I'm super excited to talk to you finally, and I want to hear from you the story of decision and existence because I read it, but I want to hear it from you as you are the mastermind of this creation.
Well, first of all, thank you for wearing one of the two
You can
fragrances.
smell it,
I
right?
can smell it for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, definitely. So I moved to Oman 5 years ago.
you did. Yeah.
And when I started doing my research about Oman, some people told me actually Oman has beautiful mountains, and one of those mountains is called Jabal Shams, and it culminates above 3,000 meters of altitude, quite high. So what went in my mind was actually I need to go to the summit of Oman, and they told me, you know, when you reach the summit, you're going to see everything from India to Iran to
Wow.
Burj Khalifa.
Wow.
See, I think people were exaggerating a little bit, but I was intrigued.
All right.
So I take my car. You need to leave early, so I left at like 3 a.m. I drive 3 hours and then I start hiking. And it's like a 7 or 8 hours hike. And very quickly, everything green disappears and so on. And then I'm surrounded by rock. But there is one exception. There are like those trees around me. And I don't know, you know, what those trees are, but all of them look dead.
Okay.
They look dead. They look like, you know, like they look like sculptures.
Like
They're
they were
quite
hit
gray.
right.
I mean, I don't know really what's going on. So I go closer to them and I realize like that they look like they've been burned. So I'm like, why do people burn those trees? So that was actually during my first trip there. Like I noticed that those trees looked like not in good condition, but they were growing and so on. So I started wondering what is going on. And by the way, the first trip, and now you get the real story. The first trip, I don't reach the top.
You didn't. Yeah.
So I gave up after a few hours. I went back. Then
It's 4 hour walking distance.
so in total, like it's quite, yeah, like it takes the full day to walk and so on. And I gave up because I got lost, like just like looking at things and so on. So second trip, I do a bit more research and actually I realized that those trees actually are not dead. But those trees are juniper trees, first of all. And usually because they are the only element that stands out on those mountains, they are actually hit by lightning when they are stormed.
Yes.
So the lightning actually comes, hits the tree, and the tree instantly implodes, and the sap, you know, like fossilizes and nearly kills, like the lightning nearly kills the tree. However, the tree is so resilient that actually it keeps on growing on the side, and that's why I could see like some of those juniper berries and so on that were on the sides of the tree. And I felt, you know what, this is a beautiful analogy for life, because, you know, in life you can be hit by uncontrollable elements, and it's your decision in the end to decide, you know what, like, am I going to give up or am I going to resist and grow and so on and all of that. So that's why that fragrance is called Decision.
You'll take the decision.
Totally. But then it was not the end because I still had to reach the top. So I keep hiking, and people had told me, you know, those stories about I'm going to see everything and so on. Clouds. Yeah. So I'm super disappointed because I reached the top. I'm exhausted and I see a sea of clouds all around. So I'm like, okay, this is very disappointing. However, it reminds me of a painting, a very famous painting of the Romantic movement that is called The Wanderer on Top of a Sea of Fog.
Okay.
And that painting, the message behind that painting is actually about existence. It's about life in general. And the message behind that painting is the following, you know, are we looking, all of us, at the same reality, or is actually what we are looking at the outcome of our imagination? Like, do we interpret, you know, like with our own eyes and our own sensibility? Like, if I'm looking at a mountain, are you seeing the same mountain as the one I'm looking at?
Yeah.
Or is your perception influenced by actually what you've lived in life, your background, your personality? And I felt, you know, that this would be a beautiful starting point to create a fragrance that tells the story of something realistic, something blurring the reality and moving actually that into imagination. And that becomes existence.